My name is Zane, and my wife Allison and I met while I was working abroad. I was an engineer, and she was an English teacher. We lived and worked in Korea and Japan for a while, and then returned to America to be with family. We got married, and she settled down into an elementary school. And I worked at a company that let me work in the States for most of the year. We were happy, but it wasn't perfect. After being married for a year and a half, we still hadn't managed to conceive. We tried every trick in the book, even visiting a lady who recommended essential oil baths and crystals. No luck. We were growing desperate, but we weren't ready to give up. One day, my mom told us to come stay with my dad for a week because my mom had had a fall, as was in hospital. She'd broken an arm, but was confident that it wasn't anything serious.
I just don't like the idea of him home alone. He's a capable man, but he's not used to being on his own. Just be there to keep him company, and to many give me a hand when I get back. It'll take me a while to get used to this cast on my arm.
It was easy enough getting time off of work. Allison and I packed a bag each, and we made our way to my parents' house. At first, everything was fine. My dad and Allison got along well, and have always. My mom thinks Allison is lovely, and she's always been treated like a member of the family. I always thought we were so lucky for the family relations being so positive. That's why what happened was such a shock. We'd been at the house for a few days when I had to attend a work meeting. I let them all know I'd be back later. My mom was back from the hospital at that point, but was due to attend a physical therapy session that afternoon. And I went to the meeting. Nothing seemed weird when I left. When I got back home a few hours later, though, I knew something was amiss. My wife was nowhere to be seen, but her purse and phone were on the kitchen island. She usually couldn't be found without her phone in her hand, so I was immediately suspicious. Where was she, if not working on her computer or talking on the phone? I knew my mother wasn't home because I'd gotten back in the middle of her physical therapy appointment, so it should have just been my wife and my dad. And while they got along well enough, they never did stuff together like my mom and Allison did. I knew something was up, and I was right. I went to my parents' bedroom, and there was my wife with my dad. What are you doing? They got dressed quickly, blushing and apologizing the whole time. And then they tried to explain what was happening while I paced the living room.
Your dad really wants a grandchild.
What has that got to do with anything?
Well, you're sterile, so the only way to have a baby is with your dad. That way, we're keeping it in the family, and everyone wins. He gets to have a grandchild, and we can have a baby.
Everybody doesn't win. Are you insane? If my dad wanted a grandchild, he'd be better off having you get artificially inseminated. If you became pregnant with his kid, then that wouldn't be his grandchild. It would be his kid. God, Allison, it would be my sibling. Don't you understand how messed up that is?
I hadn't thought of it like that.
I couldn't believe my wife would be so stupid or that my dad would be so disgusting. I called my mom to let her know. I felt bad that we were both going to have our marriages ruined in the same day, but she deserved to know. Mom, I have some bad news. I found Dad and Allison together in your bed. Allison says they were trying to make grandchildren, but that's insane.
I know about all that, dearie. It was my idea.
What? You can't be your idea? Mom, why?
Because I want a grandchild. You've made it very clear that you're not capable of doing it. We thought we'd speed the process along. Your father offered, and I agreed that it was for the best.
I was furious. I couldn't believe that this was happening. I thought we were happy. I'd already looked into alternative options for us. At this stage, we don't know if it is a biological problem or not, and if it is, we don't know who. What I do know is that we didn't have a child, so she chose to have sex with my dad rather than talk to me about it. I left the same day. Before Mom was even home from her PT, I was in my car on the way to my house. I packed up everything I owned, called my boss, and asked to be shipped out on the next overseas assignment. Anywhere but America, I told them. I ignored all the calls and emails and texts from my wife and parents. I had nothing else to say to them. But on the night before I left for Germany, I sent them all an individual email. One to my wife telling her that our marriage was over and that as she cheated on me, she would be getting nothing. Another I sent to my father with a civil court date in place where I intended to sue him for slander and abuse, and another to my mother telling her that she has not only lost the chance at a grandchild, but also she has lost her son. I hired someone to stand in my stead at the court case and knew that I was going to come out of it in a better position than my father. He's not only coerced my wife into intercourse, but he'd also lied about me being sterile, and then he destroyed my marriage, which constituted as abuse. I was awarded a tidy sum of money. And in the scathing email he sent me a month later, I learned that he'd had to pick up another job to pay off what he owed. In doing so, he was underperforming at his actual job, and this had led to him being fired. I felt vindicated. One night, about 6 months into my time in Germany, I went to a bar and met a girl.
What's a man like you doing in a place like this?
Just looking for someone to make my night interesting.
Then let me let you buy me a drink, and we'll see if I can be of service.
We hit it off immediately and started dating not long after. I never spoke to my family or Allison again, and a month after I married Bessie, she fell pregnant with twins. I was so happy, and we were able to raise our child in a happy home, away from manipulative parents and cheating wives and all the toxicity I experienced there. Bessie knows about my past and is just glad that I was able to move on. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.